For me, the most memorable one is I work in a level 1 trauma center, and there was I think it was either a 4 or 6-year-old who fell. He was out with friends, fell, hit his head. He had some underlying medical conditions as well, but he came in unresponsive, and we worked on him for about an hour and a half doing compressions, pushing meds, just trying to get him back. And the entire time the family was right outside. And then there have been studies that have been done that have shown that if families come in and see the last few minutes or moments of us working on their family member, that it helps them in the long run with the recovery and coming to terms with the loss of that loved one. And so we allowed the family to come in as I finished up my last 200 compressions, and then we called the time of death with the family right there, kind of crying and holding on to him and kind of begging us to continue to work on him. But there wasn't really much we could do. He was just gone. So I kind of had to stay in the room and let everyone else go out, and I was there to kind of comfort the family, give them tissues, stuff like that, and then stepped out so they could have a moment with him. But for me, that was the first time I'd ever been in the room when we'd let family come in as we're still working on it. So that was really hard, and then it was my first kid that I'd ever really truly worked on. So it was kind of hard to lose someone that young.
Y algo que me recuerdo bien impresionante es de que yo lavaba en el lavadero afuera del patio y él estaba sentado. Él era alcohólico. Él estaba sentado y pasó una comadre de él y le dijo, compadre, ¿qué pasó? No lo había visto. Y le contestó, él dice, no me ha de querer ver. Y le dijo, ¿cómo no, compadre? Sí. Y dijo, bueno, la próxima vez que me vea me va a venir a ver con una veladora. Y así fue. A la semana él murió. Así de impresionante. Otro hecho era de que la noche él estaba ya enfermo por días, tenía ya cirrosis hepática, y yo iba a la escuela en la tarde. Entonces yo regresaba como a las 8. Yo sabía que él estaba enfermo, pero entré, saludé a mi abuela y solamente alcancé a ver los pies de él en la cama. Pero algo que me distrajo fue que había llegado un tío. Platiqué con el tío y yo nada más me acuerdo que miré los pies de mi abuelo con sus guaraches. Para las 7 de la mañana empezó todo el alboroto de mi madre. Las casas estaban cercas, la de mis abuelos y la de mi madre. Y mi padre murió. Entonces yo me quedé como en shock porque dije yo, perdón, ¿por qué no le pregunté? Quizás hubiera recogido sus últimas palabras, y es un hecho que, te digo, te duele porque dices tú, no tuve ese tiempo para ir y preguntar cómo estaba. Y te quedas yo corrí a ver y todavía lo vi en la cama. Entonces yo, en la desesperación, lo que yo hacía era que lo levantaba y él echaba el aire, ¿ves?
¿Sí?
Pero él ya estaba muerto. Pero yo decía, no, está vivo. En esa mañana caminaba siempre una enfermera hacia el trabajo y mi madre la detuvo. Entonces ella entró y me acuerdo que le tomó el pulso y ella dijo, él está muerto. Pero yo decía, no, y lo levantaba y claro, era el aire que todavía el cuerpo tenía. Sí, me acuerdo que, pues sí, lloré bastante. Pues es cuando yo decidí ahí, no sé, realmente a lo mejor era muy joven y yo dije, quiero ser enfermera.
My grandmother would probably be the most impactful person that died in my life. I was with her throughout her entire journey. From her early being diagnosed with cervical cancer, it spread into her uterus. I was 23, 24 when it happened. So 6 months prior to her passing, I was with her in New York at her appointment with her oncologist, and they had given her a final prognosis of 6 months to live. They had offered her this experimental treatment, but she wasn't open to it. She was sick of chemo and radiation, and she just wanted to go home and die in Dominican Republic in her home. So she flew back, and I had remembered that they had said 6 months. So I bought a ticket halfway through my junior semester of school to visit her for a week and a half. And when I got there, she was in really bad shape, and I could tell that she was pretty near the end. I mean, that last week, I don't know what she was like because I was with her in April. She got the 6 months diagnosis. She went back to Dominican Republic. I went back to North Carolina so I could finish I was still in school. And then in October, I flew down to visit her, and when I got there, she was screaming in pain. She wasn't in that bad shape when I had seen her previously in April. And you know, there were like doctors and nurses coming in and out of the house. They'd give her a shot in the back.
Did it help?
Yeah, she'd calm down like during the day for a little while. She'd get up, she'd go to the bathroom, she'd get back in bed. My grandfather was not supportive at all. You know, he was seeing people, mistress. I distinctly remember one night she was screaming, and I was like with her, like kind of soothing her and run my hand down her arm, and he turned around and said, "Tú no te vas a callar, yo estoy tratando de dormir." Like, I'm trying to sleep. And I looked at him and I'm like, "You've been married to this lady for 52 years and she's dying next to you, and this is how you treat her?" I was pissed. So I told him, "Look, man, if you don't like it, get up, like go to another room, but I don't really think she needs to stop screaming, like she's in a lot of pain." She got progressively worse for the next 3 to 4 days. I called my mom, my aunts. I told them, like, "Hey, you know, if you guys should probably come and see her because I think this might be it." And like, my mom got there like 18 hours before she died. My aunt got there like 10 hours before she died. And then the last sibling arrived 30 minutes right after she died. So most of them got to say their goodbyes. I mean, she woke up one morning and was unresponsive. She looked like she was starting to seize up a little bit. We called the doctors. They gave her an IV. She got a little better. And then they injected some like green fluid into her IV. And I think it was morphine. I don't know what it was, but there was a lot of, you know, the doctor that was attending her was my was my grandfather's nephew, my uncle's wife. They were like running back and forth to the clinic and like getting stuff. But right after they injected her with that vial, she started seizing up. She spent the next 10 hours kind of like breathing really heavily. Not really, I don't know if she was aware that we were in the room, you know, she was kind of staring off into the distance. At that point, she progressively throughout the day started losing the ability to speak. So she was like making sounds, and then after a while she just stopped responding to requests. She was just like staring off into the distance, and then eventually she just kind of stopped breathing. So like her breaths got further and further and further apart and more labeled. It was a lot of really like and you could hear like gasping for the last like as deep as she could go. And then she drifted off. I was holding her hand. I was just passing. But it was about a good 18-20 hours from the moment when she really started taking a turn from the worst till she finally passed. And I was with her for that last week and a half. So I was talking to her like 3-4 days before, and then watched her decline. She died on a Tuesday, and my flight to leave was scheduled for Wednesday morning. And I originally I just decided I was gonna stay, but then my mother told me, you know, like my grandmother was helping me with school, and I had already taken a week and a half off from my semester. And after like being with her the last week and a half, I don't know that I could have stayed for the funeral. So I just got on that flight and went home, and went to class the next day. And I was sitting in class, and I remember being like really numb. Like I was listening to the teacher speak and thinking like, man, like 12 hours ago I was just with my grandmother when she died. For the first week or two, I don't remember it really hitting me. Like it was just so quick. I got on a plane. I was there for a week and a half. A whole bunch of stuff happened, and then she was dead, and then I was back on a plane, and then I was like back to like normal life North Carolina. And it was almost like it didn't happen first. Like it was like I just went to visit her and came back. Usually when I came back, I wasn't going to see her for a while anyways. So I got right on that flight. It was like I had just come back. It started setting in me probably like 2-3 weeks later because I couldn't call her. I kind of started having like memories of the event. My grandmother was also my largest financial benefactor. She was helping me out a lot when I was in school. And so when she died, there was a really big inheritance fight within my family that's still going on today. And so, you know, nobody else in my family was in a place that they could help me with school. So my financial situation started to become more and more precarious. And then even dealing with the emotional side of like, oh, all this is happening, let me call grandmother. Oh, grandmother's not around. And it was like a circle. Because like a lot of the things that were happening to me were because she was gone. And then the fact that she was gone was like feeding into everything, and yeah, it just became a spiral. That was kind of hard to pull out of for a while.
I was a young boy living in upstate New York, and we had someone that's very close to me. She was my aunt. She was my mom's older sister, only sister. She was my mother's mother because my grandmother passed away giving birth to both my mom and her twin brother. So not only was she her sister, but she was her mother, and she was in turn my grandmother in many respects. And the funny thing is that she was not the oldest in the family, but she was the head of the household. The brothers and sisters, there were 6, always looked to her. She was the one that she was the glue to the family. She's the one that took on all of the responsibility in many respects. Amazing woman, powerful, all of 4'7", maybe 4'8", very short woman, but huge in stature and in respect in the family. And I remember that the hurt on her face when her husband took his life. That was the first time that I saw the effects that death could have on a family. Shortly thereafter, one of his brothers took his life. And that was the first dead body that I had ever seen. Not within the same day or anything, but later on in the years, when I was a little older, my aunt's husband's brother, which is also part of the family, took his life through hanging. And I remember that we went to the wake at the church, and it was the first time that I had seen, I was maybe 8 years old, maybe somewhere around there, a dead body. And for some reason, the thing that I fixated on was his thumb. His thumb was completely flattened, like you could physically see that's where he was gripping the rope. It affected me. I had nightmares, envisioned him at my foot of my bed, things like that. And I didn't know this gentleman very well, but my family did, obviously. But being so young and walking up to being curious, I've always been a curious person. Walking up to the casket was kind of a eerie feeling. And then that image of his thumb just really irked me and stayed with me for a very, very, very long time. I lost someone that was the head of the household, the one that kept the glue together. It was amazing because when my mom got very ill because her kidneys failed, and we thought we were going to lose my mom. She was the first one that we thought of the family was gonna, of the immediate family that we were gonna lose. She nursed her back to health. She was right there at her bedside, never left her. She nursed her back to health, and all the while was suffering with bone cancer and never shared that with anyone. Didn't let anybody know. We all knew that she had aches and pains, but she would tell us that she thought it was arthritis or something. We didn't really know the amount of pain that she was in. And then once my mom was nursed back to health and she got back and got out of the hospital and then got her through the process of my mom accepting getting on dialysis and got my mom back to a workable physical life, within months she was gone.
My uncle was my father figure, and we were extremely close. He and his wife, my aunt, live very similarly to the way my husband and I do, where we work together all day long, we live together, our entire lives are spent together. And they had done that since my aunt was 18, and they're in their 60s now. They had spent their whole lives working very hard in a very difficult place in Colorado that was outside of a national monument, and they had a small trailer behind their shop, and they saved their money their entire lives so that when they were ready to buy a home, they could just buy a home. They had finally, the year before, bought a home in town, and my aunt got to live in it for the whole year, but my uncle still had to be at the shop. Like, he couldn't allow himself to go into town. He was too afraid his really beautiful things would be stolen when he wasn't there. So he didn't even get to live in the house very much. And one day he went to the doctor and he said, I have really itchy skin. I'm not sure if it's not a rash. I can't really figure out what's going on. And they did some blood tests and they said you have multiple organ carcinoma and your chances of survival are very slim. If we decided to do chemotherapy, it could accelerate the time that you have, or accelerate the time that you have left. And so he chose not to do anything at all and just stay at home. And he passed away within 4 months. I think he was diagnosed either at the end of August or September, and he passed away in November. And it was devastating for my family. He was the patriarch, basically, that all of the nieces and nephews and cousins and everybody thought of him as a father figure, so it was very difficult. He had multiple system carcinoma, so for him, the only advantage of the treatment would be at a possible additional 6 months of life, and the quality of that life could not be guaranteed. He was already bedridden with extreme pain, and so it could have just meant making him even more sick for 6 months. So do you want to be able to get up and get around and see your family and go outside for 4 months, or do you want to be so sick that you can't get out of bed and only live another couple of months? So he chose no treatment. I think that he knew that it was bad. So he had small cell lung carcinoma, which is not treatable really. He was a smoker for most of his life. He had quit quite a while ago, but he always wanted to smoke. And, he was I loved my Uncle Carl so much, and he was such a gentle person, but he was a redhead, and he was always stressed, and anything could stress him out. And I know that had something to do with it as well. Yeah. I think that my aunt at first wanted him to try more, but then as soon as she saw how quickly the disease was advancing and how difficult palatal care was for him, and he wasn't, he was the Marlboro man, he was a cowboy, and having his wife help him to the toilet was horrifically embarrassing for him. And so I think if it would have gotten any worse, that would have been worse for him than dying.
La primera vez que entendí lo que era la muerte fue con la muerte de mi abuela. Cuando ella falleció fue el primer dolor que yo sentí, a pesar de saber lo que significaba la muerte de no tener a alguien más alrededor, que desapareció por completo. En ese tiempo vivía en un pueblito que se llamaba Camargo, Chihuahua, y mi abuela vivía en la Ciudad de México. Entonces, porque era mi primera experiencia con la muerte, como tú lo acabas de decir, a mi madre le costó muchísimo trabajo hablarme de ella. No quería decírmelo porque yo era la nieta consentida, y mi abuela era mi adoración también. Entonces se tomaron 2 semanas para decirme que mi abuela había fallecido, pero de alguna forma yo sabía que algo hacía falta dentro de mí. Yo tenía 2 semanas con una pesadez, lo que es un estrés que una niña de 13 años no entiende, que no podía yo explicar, hasta que comportamientos de mi madre y de mi padre y de mis otros familiares me llevaron a preguntar qué es lo que está pasando. Alguien me tiene que decir qué es lo que está pasando. Y no le quedó de otra a mi mamá más que decirme. Nunca la vi muerta, por decirlo así. Nunca la vi en el ataúd y tardé casi 5 años para ir a su tumba. Entonces para mí fue muy difícil creer que realmente estaba muerta. Para mí era como pensar que en cualquier esquina o en cualquier lugar me la podía encontrar. Entonces yo creo que fue en ese tiempo, entre los 13, 17 y 18, que entendí lo que era realmente la muerte con la pérdida de ella. Sabes que la noche que me dijeron que mi abuela había muerto, me puse a analizar los sentimientos y ese vacío que yo había sentido los días antes, y no sé si has escuchado cuando dicen que se te sube el muerto. Es como cuando sientes la presencia de alguien que no puedes dormir, que no puedes hacer. La noche que mi abuela murió, nosotros vivíamos en una casa que pasaba junto a las vías del tren. Entonces yo empecé esa noche, estaba yo durmiendo y empecé a oír que pasaban los vagones. Pero ese tren fue tan largo que me quedé dormida. Contando los vagones, me quedé dormida, y en ese momento empecé a sentir como si el peso de cada vagón empezara a caer sobre mí. El día que murió mi abuela. Entonces era como que si hubiese sido yo la que hubiera estado cayendo en el mismo hoyo que mi abuela iba cayendo, porque yo así veo la muerte. La muerte mucha gente la ve hacia arriba en el cielo, pero yo la veo hacia abajo, como un hoyo oscuro. Entonces yo sentía eso, en ese sueño sentía vagón sobre vagón sobre vagón encima de mí, y esa fue la pesadez que yo llevé durante esas 2 semanas, que no entendía qué era. Algo dentro de mí decía que algo no estaba bien, hasta que mi mamá me dijo que mi abuela había muerto. Me costaba trabajo aceptar que estaba muerta. Para mí, ir a ver su tumba era como aceptar que ella no estaba ahí. Entonces yo trataba cada día de vivir de la misma manera que mi abuela vivía, con sus recuerdos, ¿sí me entiendes? Como manteniéndola viva. Hasta que no... hasta que no tuve el valor de aceptarlo, que ella ya no estaba ahí, y prácticamente me llevaron a fuerza, se podría decir, porque toda la familia iba a ver, y la iba a ir a ver el día de su cumpleaños precisamente. Yo estaba en la Ciudad de México y me dijeron, Judith, ¿quieres ir? y fuimos. Y fue la primera vez que vi su nombre en el ataúd junto con el de mi abuelo. Por primera vez. Mi abuelita me enseñó a tener admiración por mi abuelo. Yo le enseñé a mis hijos a querer a mi abuela, a su bisabuela. ¿Sí me entiendes? Entonces, un día mi hija ya tenía como 2 años, 3 años. Ya hablaba bien, se le entendía lo que ella decía. Entonces, escuchamos en la noche que había ruidos. Cianya, que es el nombre de mi hija, se paraba en las noches a jugar en la sala, en completa oscuridad. Completa oscuridad. Entonces, a mí siempre me ha dado miedo la oscuridad. Y pues yo la regañaba, decía, no, Cianya, esto no se hace, tienes que dormir, o ve con mamá si no puedes dormir, esto no está bien, porque ella jugando solita y todo. Y una vez, ya cuando empezaba a hablar bien, me dijo, mami, estoy jugando con la señora. Entonces me dio miedo primero. Yo no había sentido, si me entiendes, miedo de esa manera. Tú sabes que uno cree en leyendas y cosas así. No digas tonterías, niña, que no sabe lo que estás hablando, que no sé qué. Un día viendo, como siempre, como te digo, platicándoles, es abuelo, y como no teníamos a nuestra familia aquí, es por medio de fotografías que nosotros les enseñábamos a nuestros hijos quién es abuelito, quién es abuelita, quién es tío, tía, enseñándole la foto. Pasamos una foto de mi abuela y mi hija me dijo, ahí está la señora, esa es la señora, esa es la señora. Nunca había sentido miedo en pensar en mi abuela hasta esa noche. Esa noche la dejé ir, ¿sí me entiendes? La dejé ir, fui a acostar a mi hija, que se durmiera y todo ese día, y me acosté a dormir y me acuerdo que le dije, abue, tú sabes que yo te amo y te quiero mucho y que estés presente en mi vida siempre, pero no así. Jamás volví a soñar con mi abuela, ni mi hija me volvió a decir nada.
Mientras les estén tranquilos y mientras estén tranquilos con lo que creen, porque bueno, esas creencias, creer que hay una vida después de la muerte o creer que hay un paraíso o un lugar donde eso nos da cierta tranquilidad, nos baja la ansiedad, que yo creo que esa es la función de las religiones. Entonces, por eso creo que esté bien pensar en que hay algo así. O sea, si pensáramos, te mueres y se acabó y ya no pasa nada, entonces como que a lo mejor hasta perdería un poco el sentido de la vida aquí. Igual cuando se te muere alguien cercano o alguien que quieras, pensar que está en un lugar mejor también nos da esa tranquilidad.
Well, I think that when you get older, nearly half a century old now, we start to see our family, our friends, no longer be with us. And you start to wonder, you start to think, is this the last day that I'm going to take my last breath? You know, I have children, I'm married. I want to make sure that everything is prepared. I want to make sure that, how's it going to be for them if I'm gone? And you wonder selfishly sometimes, life's going to continue. How can that be? How can that be that, you're looking, the world as we see it through our own eyes, so the way that we perceive the world and its existence is based on our experiences, what we see. And so when we're dead, or if we pass, life continues. And so, those that we love and we care about and our friends, and they're going to continue to move forward as they should, but without us. And so that story ends, or does it? If you have faith, it's comforting to know that we may be going to a better place. We want to think that we're going to a better place, and that there's really no ending. It's like they say, a beginning, but we don't know. We don't know. So there's that fear of the unknown. And I think that's why people have trouble
Yeah.
with dealing with death. At least I do.
Estando en un país en donde no está toda mi familia, lo que yo veo es que es difícil aceptar la muerte de alguien que tú quieres cuando estás lejos. Eso es lo que yo he aprendido, ¿sí me entiendes? Como cuando dices, cuando la dejé ir. Porque no es fácil dejar ir a la gente. Y lo que yo veo aquí, siendo amiga de tanta gente que tiene sus familias en otros países, ya sea en México, El Salvador, Honduras, Canadá, Australia, lo que sea, que cuando estás lejos de tu familia y muere alguien, es como si no hubieran realmente muerto. Entonces es como que extrañas a la persona, pero no es una tristeza de muerte como alguien que está tan cerca, quizás, como lo puede vivir una persona. No he experimentado la muerte con alguien que esté cerca de mí. Hace 2 o 3 años murió una de mis tías que también era la única que me venía a visitar cada año y todo. Y igual, la extraño hablar con ella, pero no la veo muerta. Yo creo que eso es como me afecta o más bien no me afecta cuando escucho, cuando alguien me dice, acaba de morir mi abuela. ¿Dónde está tu abuela? En Puerto Rico. ¿Sí me entiendes? Murió mi tío. ¿Dónde está tu tío? En México. Entonces es algo que realmente no. Sí, yo siento que la muerte, si no la ves, no tiene un efecto en ti en cuanto a eso.
Sí, pues después de que la persona muere, se le hace al siguiente día se le entierra y en los 9 días se le llama el novenario, que es cuando el espíritu termina de irse de la casa y en mi pueblo durante 40 días, creo que 40 días se le lleva flores todos los días. Es que también es algo cultural, porque en nuestro pueblo a todos nos entierran. No hay, en mi pueblo no hay una cultura de incinerar los cuerpos. No hay máquinas. No hay. Eso depende mucho también de tu cultura, pero yo creo que me gustaría que me enterraran, porque sí me gustaría como que mi cuerpo se entierre en mi pueblo y que mi familia haga todas las actividades que se le hace a un muerto. O sea, creo que es como una buena manera de recordar al muerto, ¿sí? Porque si lo incineras ya no se hace todo eso. Los 9 días, los 40 días, la ofrenda de muertos, el aniversario. Yo conocí gente en México, Ciudad de México, que tiene las cenizas en su casa. No, eso no me gustaría. No. Si lo tiraran, no tampoco. O sea, sí me gustaría como ya hay una cultura muy fuerte de ir al panteón, de ir a dejar flores, de ir a limpiar, de cuando te sientes solo ir a platicar con tu muerto, a reflexionar, porque también yo voy al cementerio a reflexionar un poco. Y por ejemplo hay días en que uno se queda toda la noche ahí. Entonces sí me gustaría que los que me recordaran, o sea, compartieran eso conmigo ya muerto.
So to me, death, I think outside of work is still pretty sad, and I get a little bit worked up about it. But at work, it's just kind of how the profession is. You can go from this person who's dying who just died, and then you have another person coming in. You can't be kind of depressed or sad about that person who just died. you need to go into your next patient's room, like happy with a smile on your face, ready to crack a joke with them, try and make them feel better and comfort them. And it's kind of almost impossible to do if you're hung up on the previous patient that you were just with. So for us, we do a moment of silence after they die. We'll pause all the alarms, silence everything, give it about 20 seconds or so, and then just like that, you're going back into another person's room. You're going to another trauma, or even someone else another person who's coding. So it's there's 20 seconds kind of to yourself, and then you're hitting the floor again, hitting the ground.
What do you do with your 20 seconds?
I usually say just a quick prayer, just like, hey, may you rest in peace, or God watch over you.
My grandmother passed away when I was approximately 18.
Okay.
But I, although we were close, we had not lived in the same state for a long time. It was an enormous shock, but I was removed from the situation.
How so?
I was coincidentally traveling to Colorado at the same time, and she passed away the day before I got there. It was a sudden heart attack, and she lived in the middle of nowhere, so EMS couldn't get to her quickly enough. But during the situation, I wasn't able to realize what was happening because my family took care of everything while I took care of their business. So they left to make all of the arrangements for the funeral, and nothing had been done prior because she, of course, wasn't expecting to have a sudden heart attack. And so there was a lot to be done, and I needed to take care of their shop. So I was completely removed and just working. The funeral was very difficult for me, but then again, I lived out of state, so shortly after the funeral I left, and I could separate myself from this situation again.
And so you said at 18, what made the funeral difficult for you?
The funeral, the hardest part about the funeral for me was, it was actually two things. I had not been able to approach the feelings or anything about my grandmother's death because I was busy running my family's business. So it was still ethereal to me. It was kind of in the background. I hadn't really had time to think about it. So it was quite shocking at the funeral. And then also my grandmother was European Catholic, and some of the things that they said during the funeral and the fact that it was open casket was very difficult for me as well. I didn't agree with some of the religious things that were said, and so that was difficult. And just seeing my grandmother there in kind of this state that she had never been in before. When they dress you up for your funeral, it's obviously not the way that you were presented yourself before. So that was really hard. It was a typical Catholic ceremony, and so the priest was talking about how my grandmother had died for her sins. And my grandmother was involved in the underground during World War II and saved thousands of people and got them out of Germany through Belgium. And she was the nicest person you could possibly imagine. And I can't imagine some kind of sin that would cause this person to die. I think that my grandmother died because biologically she had a poor heart. It had nothing to do with how she lived her life other than what she ate and exercised. She was a saint, and she was an extremely nice person. So that idea that my grandmother had done something wrong or, an original sin or anything like that to me was inappropriate, I felt. But she would have wanted that to have been said. She was very, very Catholic. She was old school European. So I respected the fact that that was happening.
I think there's a lot of different ways to, you could say the spirit or the fifth dimension or some parallel space, I'll call it the spirit world, that I don't think we ever really leave. I think we kind of breathe in from that world into this physical world and then eventually retreat back into that world. But that parallel world to me is a world of thoughts, of ideas, of emotions, but where thoughts, ideas, emotions are concrete, tangible objects. That kind of influence our world here in the physical sense. So I am Daniel, I exist here in the physical sense. I do things, I accomplish things, I interact with people, I fade from this world. All of those things come together and continue to propel in this physical sense in a way. I remember thinking of somebody that I lost, and the moment that I thought of them, in my head I could see this image of them. And the harder I thought of them, the more they grew. And then I would remember other people that I had lost, and they would also pop into my head. But I would start to recall like archetypal figures. I reflected on like the concept of being remembered. Like, what are the names that have really stood the test of time? Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. The names that are imprinted so deep in our minds and are remembered by a collective million human souls, they give that idea, that concept reality. And when I saw that, I just instinctively inside knew that as long as I remembered the people that I've lost, they haven't really left. I can still imitate their lifestyle. If there's parts of their life that I'd like to bring real into me, they can speak to me like from beyond the ages. And yeah, I felt a connection to something beyond me that was beyond this physical world. That doesn't give me the certainty of knowing what will happen to me that will die, but gave me some sense of certainty that there are planes of existence that are beyond this existence. Maybe I don't take my memories, maybe I don't take any of it, but I know in some sense or another I will become energy and be converted into another state somewhere, somehow.
Physically, I'm actually the one who also kind of cleans up the body, because it's not like the movies or something like that where when they die that's just kind of peaceful and their eyes get closed. Their eyes usually stay open. They're still warm, and there's a lot of different bodily fluids that come out of the patient when they die. So I kind of clean that up, and then we take them back to back part of the area of the emergency department where we don't really see patients or anything like that, kind of a holding area. And we'll put them in a room, we'll kind of clean them up, make them presentable for the family. Because usually the family's not in the room with us. They're in our a special waiting room that we have for them. And then the physicians will go in and tell them, hey, you know, so-and-so passed away, we're really sorry. And then we'll clean up the body, make it presentable for the family. I usually put a warm blanket or two on top of them just so that it kind of stays warm for the family members who come in, and they can kind of touch him and still feel like it's, you know, he's still with them a little bit. Try and help him out with that. And then after that, I'd take him down to the morgue, put him in the our fridge or freezer, and then they'll do an autopsy if it's kind of it's not really up to us if they do an autopsy or not. If there's something kind of questionable or something like that, then they'll definitely get an autopsy. And so that kind of changes things. We'll leave lines and tubes inside the patient if it's kind of a questionable death and they need to do an autopsy. If not, we'll pull all that out. And then the morgue, or not the morgue, but the morgue will hold them. And then the funeral homes will come and get the body for the family.
Yo soy de la idea de que yo no quiero que me entierren. Yo no quiero un funeral. Y yo, como luego bromeo con mis amigas cuando les cuento, les digo que yo quiero del refrigerador al microwave, al horno. Porque yo no quiero, le digo a mi hija que será, no es vanidad ni nada, pero yo quiero que me recuerden como la última vez que me vieron. Hasta incluso mis amigos y mis enemigos. Sobre todo mis enemigos. No quiero que me vean, o, ¿cómo te diré así? Muy decaída o en una caja. O que sepan, también les prohibí que sepan detalles de cómo morí. Simplemente se murió y es todo. En el trabajo que tengo, son casi 20 años que tengo ahí, ha muerto mucha gente, compañeros de trabajo, que estaban activos ahí trabajando o que ya habían dejado de trabajar. Y el morbo de la gente es algo que yo no quiero que pase conmigo. Simplemente se murió y a la que le cause felicidad bien y a la que le cause tristeza pues también. Pero yo quiero que me cremen. Ajá, y que si quieren ellos guardar las cenizas, pues bien. Y si no, las pueden hacer con ellas lo que quieran. Porque en realidad nuestro cuerpo es solamente el recipiente de nuestra alma, de nuestro espíritu. Y eso es lo que yo les digo a mis hijos. Si alguien me quiere ver en el hospital, solamente van a ser ustedes. Sí. No sé cómo se vea eso, pero es mi ¿cómo se dice? Es mi deseo de que cuando yo muera, nadie me va a ver más que ellos. Y tú sabes, a veces, como te digo, muere uno a veces instantáneamente en un accidente y no quiero que nadie me vea. Sí, nada más ellos, claro. Sí. Y sí, lo que tú creo que desearías con todo tu corazón cuando tengas hijos es de que tuvieras la oportunidad de decir adiós. Eso es lo que yo creo que todos queremos.
A lot of people die, and I don't want to be buried in a grave. I think that's irresponsible. I have thought about cremation, but I'm not sure. That's also not ecologically sound, and I'm not sure that that's how I would like the energy of my body to be spent. I'm thinking of energy more as an actual food base or an actual biological system, you know, energy for something else to eat and move on with. I've consumed the energy of a lot of different plants and animals to sustain my life over a period of time, and isn't that the same cycle that my body should take? I have thought about like they have new bags that they can put your body in that grows a tree, or, you know, it sounds so gruesome, but I would almost prefer to be fed to something than to be burned, or, you know, Buddhists leave priests out to be eaten by scavenger birds, and I feel like it's more appropriate, but it's obviously not appropriate on a global scale. So I've actually thought about what I would like to do with my body, and there are fortunately new things that people are doing. There's a bag that they're putting people in now that will grow mushrooms from your body and decompose your body that way. And I think somehow, I don't know why, because I'm also not religious, but somehow returning my energy from my body seems important to me.
I think I would like to, if I can, I'd like my work is to be donated to either people who need them, and then if it can't be, I'd like my body to go to a cadaver lab for med schools. That way I can kind of help train people in the future, because they work with the entire body, learning all different parts of it. I think that would be a way to kind of give back, if you will. It's not for any selfish reasons. It's to help, you know, future doctors learn how to take care of and how to treat different people, because they're learning the anatomy of the entire human body. They'd be able to learn it on me, and they can use it to kind of figure out, hey, this is what happened to him in his life, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't have an appendix, so he, you know, had appendicitis at one point and had it taken out. So it kind of helps them learn, and then at the end, you know, I would obviously still have a funeral and all that, and I could be buried or cremated if I wanted.
I've always been this way, a real stickler to time. I think time is something that's very important. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm always very early to things. I am not your typical Latino when it comes to doing things. I tend to be early, on time, and precise. And I'm very careful who I share my minutes, my seconds, my hours, my days with, because they may be my last. We don't know. That's the whole thing about this, is that no one knows when they're going to pass. No one knows when their time is up. And so I try to treasure and put value in the moments that I'm here, that I'm doing something that's going to leave a good feeling with others, that's going to make my family proud, that, you know, they're not going to say, well, you know, Raphael was here, or they may not even remember Raphael. You know, it's a matter of what did you do while you were here. And I think that that's important. At least for me, it's important. Some people live their lives and, you know, they just kind of go through the motions. I try not to do that. I try to, you know, squeeze every ounce that I can out of every minute of every day, because it may be the last one. It's not like something that's constantly on my mind, but you know, I have diabetes. You know, a lot of my family members unfortunately have passed due to cancer. You know, I have family members that you know, we have either high blood pressure or like I said, some form of cancer. My mom is right now on dialysis, you know, for kidney failure. And so, yeah, when you're dealing with illness and when you're dealing with the folks that are ill, you think about yourself as well. As a parent, if I was single, I remember when I was single and I was young and I was 20, I didn't think about it as much, because you always think that, you know, you project and you think that life is going to go on forever, or, you know, as you become older and your children grow, hopefully you're going to be around for grandchildren and so on. You want to be there for those special moments. And when you see your family members pass and you see those friends that you love pass, you say, wow, you know, that could be me. And what did I do with my time? You know, was I effective? Did I leave a positive mark? And so yeah, I do a lot. I try to do a lot because I try to squeeze everything I can out of the time that I'm here, because, you know, tomorrow's not guaranteed for anyone.
Siempre que voy manejando, a veces no pienso en decir, oh, mis hijos me esperan, porque en realidad ya nadie me espera. Todos ya viven aparte, todos son unos adultos. Pero voy pensando, ¿en quién crees que voy pensando cuando voy manejando? Por si algo me pasa. En mis gatos. Voy y digo, ay, mis gatos, ya va a ser hora de que coman, casi cuando son las 5 es cuando comen. Ay, ojalá y que no me pase nada, porque van a estarme esperando. Siempre les digo también por favor, que sepan que yo me morí, no anden así como distraídos y me ignoren a los gatos, denles de comer. Eso es algo quizás ya de gente grande, pero eso es lo que me preocupan, que me los vayan a dejar ahí olvidados. Que no. Y eso es lo que planeo hacer, una carta. La cosa más que yo quiero, y se lo he dicho a mi hijo mayor, es de que yo los quiero unidos, bien unidos, son 3 nada más. Y algo que yo les he dicho siempre es que yo no quiero que el otro tenga envidia del otro ni del otro, y se tienen que apoyar. Si de veras hay una línea solamente entre la vida y la muerte y yo voy a estar alrededor, yo quiero ver eso.
It's definitely changed a great deal the way that I think about my life, and it hasn't been a short-term change. What I value in my life changed dramatically, almost immediately. I realized the way that I was treating my profession versus the way that I was living my life was not very healthy. I was working harder than nurturing relationships. I was nurturing relationships, but not as much as I would like to. And I have a problem with concentrating on things that are unnecessary or not immediate threats. And I think that having my health be something, or my mortality be something that was so close, it has spurred me to think about those events and why I act that way and how I could potentially be happier in the future without doing that, because ultimately, you know, we're all only here for a very short period of time, and I want to make that time as happy as possible. I don't have any belief or understanding of what happens after you die, and there's nothing like that afterwards for me. And so I want to make sure that the time that I spend alive and cognizant is as happy and as joyful as it can be, you know.
Puedo decirte que como mexicano le tememos a la muerte y por eso nos reímos tanto también de la muerte, porque es una forma también como de aliviar la situación, ¿no? Siempre crecimos con esa situación como que la calaca era un personaje chistoso que hacerle, pero realmente porque sí le tenemos miedo a la muerte, no queremos morir, como de la misma forma que somos los mexicanos cuando contamos chistes de alguna tragedia, es también de esa forma como de aliviarnos un poco del dolor.
Por ejemplo, si la muerte llega próximamente para mí, yo voy a estar agradecido, o sea, yo voy a... O sea, me da como pena por mis familiares, por mis amigos, mis pocos amigos, porque ya no voy a poder hacer lo que yo quiero, lo que estoy haciendo y lo que pienso hacer toda mi vida. Pero aún así creo que estaría agradecido. Sí, o sea, finalmente tuve como el valor de decir, ya hice esto, ya la cagué, ahora voy a hacer lo que me gusta y voy a dedicarme a eso.